to listen and act behind it. And it's one of the best.
Wow.
Incredible story there from Earl Crawley. Yes, he's African American, if you couldn't tell. Mr. Earl from Baltimore. And that story is from several years ago, where a lot of people are learning as a result of Mr. Earl. No more than $12 an hour, net worth $500,000. So, with all that in mind, it is now time for our Wealth Wednesday segment with Michael Vance from Stewardship of Wealth. He is here with us right now and talking to us about some of the incredible things that you can do as far as saving money for the long term and trying to get to your financial goals in 2016. Michael, first of all, what did you think of that story we just shared there?
Very inspiring. Just very inspiring to hear someone share their own story of how they discipline themselves financially, be successful. We have no excuse, really. I heard someone say that if you're born poor, that's not your fault. But if you die poor, that's your fault. And this is a good example of someone taking what he had, even though he was born poor, didn't have any education, didn't have anything, but he was able to learn despite that. And so he's going to die a very wealthy man.
Yeah, it certainly sounds that way. So Michael's here with us right now. He's going to be sharing with us some of the things that are going to make sure that you're on track for your financial goals in 2016. And, if you want to go ahead, Michael, I understand. And let me just tell everybody very quickly, Wealth Wednesday is something that I started here on this program when I first took it over. I wanted to provide an area where people had the opportunity to learn something about your wallet. I can play sound clips from Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton and all that. And, we're going to have a president one way or not. But at this point, you're going to have the opportunity to learn something that hopefully will help people save more money and get more money into their investment there. Because, boy, we all could use a few extra dollars in our pocket here. And so Michael Vance is here with the Stewardship of Wealth, and they provide some financial counseling and guidance to those who would like it and those who need it. We'll give you the contact information for them coming up here a little bit later, and make sure that you get what you need in order to make sure that you can take advantage of some of the things that are out there as far as trying to get you moving forward. Of course, it's not just Michael, it's also Lamont Dupree, who comes in from time to time, and Latanya as well. They come in from time to time. And we appreciate them each and every Wednesday here on WEUP, providing this service for us and giving us some information here that we certainly do need, because if not, boy, we've learned some incredible things here during the Wealth Wednesday. Steve said it's worked for him. We've learned some really cool things here during Wealth Wednesday here in 2016. So we're really, really appreciative of Mike and his team and their time and what they're able to share with us here in our community here on WEUP. So, Michael, you getting all set up here? You good to go, man?
I'm ready to go.
All right, so let's chit chat. How do you help reach those 2016 financial goals?
First of all, I like to say that when you start setting up your financial goals, one of the things that you might want to do is look at your own life history. Everybody has different life history, different stories. And so you've got to look at what's important to you. That's the first thing you got to do. My goals are not going to be important to you. Earl Crawley goals are not going to be important to you. What's important to you? What are your own financial goals? That's the first thing you have to look at. A little bit about me. I grew up in a home where I had 9 brothers and 6 siblings. And so our family was always moving from place to place. I went to 11 different elementary schools, 5 different middle schools, 3 different high schools. The parents loved God. They were great Christians. They just weren't very good stewards of their wealth. And so one of the things I wanted to provide early in life was I wanted to provide some stability for my family. That was a goal. I said, I want to provide a place where my family can come home every day, and this is home. So that was a goal to me. And so how do you have stability? There's some things you got to learn to create stability in your life. Number one, you have to be disciplined. And we heard earlier how Earl Crawley, he was a very disciplined man. It doesn't matter how much education you have. You know, we have folks with highly educated here in Huntsville, hardworking, upward mobile, middle-class Americans, but they're not disciplined. And if you're not disciplined, I don't care how much money you earn, you're not going to be wealthy. You're going to spend it all. You're going to end up broke. So that's one thing that you have to develop in order to have financial goals and reach your goals. You've got to be disciplined. Another thing you have to do, in my opinion, I've learned, is you've got to avoid debt. Debt is one of the few things that will hold you back from reaching your financial goals. And personally, me and my wife, we've learned it. It took us a while. It took me about 21 years to realize that, here I am living paycheck to paycheck, making money, working like everybody else. I've got a laptop. I can work at home. I got a cell phone. I can work all the time. I mean, they got it so that anytime you want to work, you can go to work. Taking 3-day vacations, because if I take 2 weeks off, I can't do it. There's just don't have enough time to do that. Also, the fact that working 2-3 jobs and things like that, because you've got debt in your life. And the more debt that you accumulate in your life, the more what I call you get into what's financial bondage or slavery. And there's several people that I've talked to that are in financial bondage, slavery. It's like they wake up every morning knowing that if I don't go to work, all this stuff's going to stop. And so they can't miss 2 weeks of work. They can't miss a week of work. They're concerned about that. That creates stress in their life. It took me a while to realize that I needed to get out of that. And one of the things my wife and I learned over the years of setting financial goals was that we learned to liquidate and eliminate debt that was in our lives. And I'm going to tell you, if you can do that one thing, it's going to free you up to do so many other things with your life. Number one, if you don't have any debt in your life, you can then begin to really save the kind of money, to invest the kind of money to really make a difference in your life. Because when you're in debt, all your money is going out, so you don't see how you can save. But if you discipline yourself to get out of debt, by learning to do that alone, that's going to empower you. That's going to give you the strength to learn how to discipline yourself so that you can save and invest. Once you learn to save and invest, and you're not living paycheck to paycheck, now your life, what I call, is you're going to be living a life of surplus. And when you're living a life of surplus, you got money coming in. Now, what are you going to do with that? And I think one of the best things you can do is, just like what Earl Crawley is, you have to raise your financial IQ. Get around people that are making money, that know how to make money. Take some classes. Learn how to invest. Learn where to save your money. My parents didn't really have savings account. They didn't know anything about CDs or investing. But I know a little bit about that. I'm passing that on to the next generation. They're going to know a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
So
I've got a question for you on that. How do you get around people who are making money? And see, and this is something that, and we're just talking here, and this is something that I think a lot of people struggle with, because you say to yourself, well, I don't know anybody making that kind of money. How am I supposed to learn anything about that? Everybody I know is broke, or is like me, or around the same income level as me. How do you find out and start hanging around? How do you raise your level to where you can find more people who are doing well?
Yeah, one of the things that, and thank the Lord for Google, because Google actually is your friend. You can go to Google, you can just start, you're thinking of people in this world that have wealth, and there's going to be tons and tons of people there that you can look for. I met a gentleman called, his name is Dave Ramsey.
Yeah.
And Dave Ramsey is a Christian person that had learned that even though he's making a lot of money,
very wealthy.
Yeah, he was doing some things that just was causing him to go sinker further and further in debt. And so what happened to when he lost basically all his wealth, he decided that he would start over by learning what the Bible says about wealth and using biblical principles. And that's how he created his wealth the second time that he still has, and that he's helping others to learn how to be wealthy. So the first thing you have to do is listen to people that have some of the same value system you have. Not only are they wealthy, but they have the same value systems that you have. Because you can get rich in several different ways. There's pornography pimps that are rich. There are drug dealers that are rich. There are Wall Street bankers, crooks that are rich. We're not talking about that. We're not just talking about getting rich. We're talking about creating wealth. And when you create wealth, that means you're creating your character along with the money so that you know how to be a good steward of that money. And so one of the things that you can do is use Google. Google is your friend. And then there are industries. Entrepreneurship is another thing. Finding people that work in the financial management arena. You have people that in this community, they have investment firms. That's what they do all day. They're looking at money, they're investing. Go to your financial institution. If you're at a credit union or a bank, there's people in there that can help you in terms of understanding finances. Those are areas that you can go to. Even churches. Our church, every year, my wife and I make sure that we give back to our community by doing a class, a financial peace class, where we open it up to the community and we say, hey, this is what we've learned. This is where we were. This is where we are now. The light is so much brighter. The air is fresher. We're living life is good. And so we tell them how we were once in darkness of debt, how we were in bondage, and how we came out of that. And we give them a step, baby steps to how we did that. So there's people in the community that can help you learn how to become a better steward of your wealth. A lot of churches, you can go online and just Google Financial Peace University. They have this all through the year. You can take classes in churches and in different communities, but that's one way of doing it. And you might also have a family member. Some of us are blessed to have family members that are doing very, very well financially, and you can sit down with them and actually pick their brains. And this is somebody that you have a deep relationship with. The first truly wealthy person I got to really see up close was my father-in-law, Howard T. Williams. And he paid his house off early. He had a education fund for all 5 of his kids. He had no debt in his life. He had a will in place, all those things in place. And I mean, I got to see that. He had the financial discipline. And I'm going to tell you now, no matter how much money you make, if you make $5,000 a year, $50,000 a year, or $500,000 a year, if you don't learn how to financially discipline yourself, learn how to save for a rainy day, you're going to end up blowing your money and blowing your opportunity. So it's not how much you make, it's what you save and invest that makes the difference in terms of your financial goals. So once you have stability in your life and you've got the surplus, you raise your financial IQ, there's another level of stewardship that I call sustainability. Sustainability is when you don't even have to go to work. Your money is working for you.
What?
In other words, your money works 24 hours a day from interest, compound interest. You invested so much that even if you don't go to work, you got a paycheck coming in. That's where you want to get to, where you have sustainability, where you really don't have to work, but you work because you love what you're doing. You have purpose.
Hold on. Because you're flowing here, and I don't want to stop you too much. But we're talking with Michael Vance. He's from Stewardship of Wealth. He's sharing some things with us to make sure that you can reach your financial goals. And Michael, you said a key phrase there that I don't think a lot of people understand, and including myself in the total complete understanding. Compound interest. What does that even mean? That we just say that and people throw that around. Yeah. If you watch CNBC or Bloomberg, right, or wherever else, even if you listen to Mr. Crawley's story, and they talk about compound interest, and they just go, okay, well, LeBron scored a triple-double last night. What does that mean? What is compound interest?
Yeah, all it is, very simple terms, is when you take money and you invest that money and it earns interest. So you take $100, you put $100 in the bank. At the end of the year, now that $100 is $125 or $110. That is the interest. You didn't do anything for that. You just put it there. It earned interest because it's an investment. So if you take $1,000 and invest that, and at the end of the year, that $1,000 is now $1,100, you let it stay there for another year, and now that $1,100 turns to $1,200, $1,300, you just let that money continue to earn money. So the interest is earning money. That's why you can have people that have a $500,000, like this gentleman here, Earl Crawley, and the interest that he gets from that money might be $50,000, it might be $75,000, without touching the $500,000 principal. It's the interest that he takes off every year. And when you learn how to do that, now you can pass on a legacy to that next generation. He's going to be able to leave his family members, his kids, his grandkids, some wealth because he's learned to discipline himself, and now he's letting his money works for him. He has sustainability. He doesn't probably even have to go to work. I don't know how old this gentleman was. I heard his voice.
In the 70s.
Okay, so at this point, his money is basically working for him.
Money
and
making money.
His money is basically making money. And the thing is, there's seasons in your life that you have to understand. When you're young, you have time and you have energy, but you have no money. But when you get to middle age, where you're working all the time, you have money and energy, but you have no time. But then when you get old age, you have time and money, but you have no energy. And so there's seasons in your life that you got to really understand, what do I need to be doing now? And through all this, all the different seasons of your life, you've got to be developing what I call financial discipline. I think he used the words, they sacrifice. You got to learn to sacrifice. And you're not going to hear that word a lot on Hollywood. I mean, you're not going to hear that on the hip hop, the bling bling stations. One of the things that really got me involved in stewardship is I was in D.C. On a business trip, and I was listening to one of the urban stations, and Russell Simmons was teaching people in that community how to create wealth. He had a class on how to get a rush card and how to go in debt and buy a home and buy cars. I was like, wait a minute. I just stopped. I said, wait a minute, that's not right. This is not right. I said to myself, we each have a responsibility really to share what we know to the next generation. I'm talking about share things that work for you, and then be responsible enough to say, hey, this is what I've learned. This has worked for me. I hope it can work for you. And walk alongside people and encourage them, but not to be taking advantage of people. And so one of the things that really motivated me about being involved with Stewardship of Wealth and working with churches and nonprofit organizations and faith-based organizations is desire to give back. When you are willing to be accountable and say, hey, I've made mistakes. You know, my wife and I, we do live a debt-free lifestyle. It's not easy. Every day I know I can go down here and just put my name on a piece of paper and own and drive away with a 2016 BMW Mercedes-Benz, no problem. I mean, literally no problem. I can wake up tomorrow morning, go sign some papers and live in Hampton Cove, Mount St. O, anywhere I want to, no problem. But I don't want to go into debt. I've made a commitment that I don't want to do that. And when you make those kind of commitments, you have to make different decisions. You have to learn to discipline yourself. And even though everything in my spirit sometimes says, you deserve it, go on and do that, everybody else is doing it, it's only through the Lord that gives me the peace and says, no, you don't have to do that. This is a better way. Keep doing what you're doing. I will bless you.
Michael Vance is here with us right now from Stewardship of Wealth. He's sharing some information with us about how you can reach your 2016 financial goals. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll have some finishing thoughts with Michael Vance. We're also going to tell you about your safety. You know, you got your new debit card. You know, it's got the little chip in it. Mm-hmm. They're saying that it may not be as safe as they once thought. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. NBC News to tell us about that. When we come back, this is WEUP Talk, where information truly is power today.